This is Starting Point, a podcast that tracks Guyana's unprecedented growth from all vantage points. Join your hosts, Kiana Wilberg and Fariza Hanif, as they dive deep into the heart of topical issues.
Welcome to this week's episode of Starting Point. I am your host, Kiana Wilberg. Today, we place the spotlight on developments within the housing sector and the plans of the incumbent for 2025 to 2030. To help us with today's discussion is the Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Ms. Susan Rodrigues. Minister, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Kiana. I'm happy to be here.
So, I have so many questions for you, and of course, they're on the development side, but I want to start with a moment of reflection. As one of the youngest women in government, what has been the impact of this experience for you? And I want to premise this question on the fact that it's well known that there are not many women within the political landscape, and sometimes politics can seem a bit scary or daunting. So, what attracted you to it, and what has the experience been like for you so far?
So thank you for having me. If I reflect back to around 2016, when the opposition was in government, as a young person in business at that time, looking on at the political landscape, first of all, I have no experience in politics prior to that. No family member who has been a politician or even a member of a political party. So that's the background I came from, purely private sector, no experience in politics or even close in proximity to a politician. And so I was observing. I saw the coalition come to government as a young person. I thought, the country voted in a way that was across ethnic lines in 2015, and maybe the young people decided that they wanted to see something different. And nobody expected what we got in the 2015 to 2020 period. We saw the economy decline, we saw stagnation, there was no clear vision for the country. So it was very difficult to plan in the private sector. It was difficult to expand my business and difficult to plan because I wasn't sure where we were headed as a country. So quickly, I think all of Guyana had buyer's remorse. And I wanted to see the People's Progressive Party Civic back in government. That was my main motivation for joining the party. And I gravitated towards General Secretary Bar Jagdeo, who was accessible. You could meet him. And I did meet him. I did go to Freedom House. A lot of what, similar to what's happening now. And I said I wanted to join the party. I had a friend who I went to school with, who is a member of the party. And I asked him and he said, just come. And I just went and I started attending meetings in the Campbellville group because I was living in Campbellville at the time. Started going to the meetings and I liked it. And I kept getting more and more responsibility. And then we approached 2018, the no confidence motion. Well, we had local government elections. So that was my first experience at elections. And it was a really great experience. And then we had the no confidence motion. And we were almost certain that we would have elections in 3 months as it was constitutionally due. And that was a long struggle, all of 2019 and then 2020, hoping for an election date and the 5 months that ensued after that. So politics kind of consumed me during those years, especially 2018, 19, and most of 2020. It became bigger than me. It became bigger than all of us. It was about restoring democracy. And I think like most Guyanese, we became invested in that effort. And so when I was offered this portfolio, after President Ali was sworn in, it just seemed like the natural course of things to happen. I wanted to continue giving my support to the party. I feel I have a lot to offer. I'm highly motivated. I believe in the cause. I believe in the programs as set out by the party prior to the 2020 election. And I've been privileged and honored to help them to implement that very bold plan that we set out in our 2020 manifesto.
But the entire experience, though, I mean, you must have had some idea of what you thought politics should be, how it should function, and how did that perception change during the 5 years?
It's very chaotic, like a lot of times. It's very fast paced. I think I was most surprised by how demanding the work is and how difficult it can be sometimes, even with a clear plan and with a clear vision, how difficult it can be to implement. And that's why I think the coalition government suffered the way they did in 2015 to 2020, because even if you give them the benefit of the doubt of wanting to implement their promises, which we know that they broke all their commitments, but you have to be dedicated to that effort. And it takes around the clock work to get it done, because not everybody who is in the ministries or in the agencies support the vision. Everybody has their own personal beliefs. Some may have their own political biases. And you have to convince them not to support your political persuasion, but to support the plan. And so with this ambitious plan in the housing sector, for example, we had to bring everybody on board, convince them that this is possible, convince them that this is the right thing for Guyana, and that it will have a tremendous impact on the families who will benefit from the program. So collaborating with other agencies to make it happen, it really takes round the clock work, the sheer demand of your time, the lack of freedom to to demand to set your own schedule, because in government, you serve at the pleasure of the president, and if he's working, everybody's working. But the only
It's
way
not a bed of roses.
not at all, and people don't know how much it takes, how demanding it is for you to be able to deliver, and you can only get that energy because you're motivated to do it. If we didn't love what we're doing and we didn't believe in what we are doing, then we wouldn't have the energy to get it done.
Do you have a sense of the kind of politician you want to be? And how has the teachings of the vice president, who is considered to be one of the greatest politicians of our time and in the Caribbean, how have his teachings influenced the kind of politician you see yourself becoming?
He was my mentor. He still is. But I spent a lot of time. I was lucky enough to have a lot of his time during the opposition years. So I saw him almost every day at Church Street at the office of the leader of the opposition. And he spent a lot of time listening to us, listening to young people, listening to everybody who would come into the office and engage us on a daily basis on a whole range of issues. So I got a sense of or an insight into how his mind works, and I know that he loves this country, and I know that he wants the absolute best for every single Guyanese. I know that. But like I said, it's sometimes very difficult to implement because you have to balance so many competing interests, and it's very difficult to please everybody all of the time. But what I like about General Secretary Barjaglio and Vice President is that he's very pragmatic. And I'm like that too. And so we like to get things done. So every situation may not be ideal, and we don't just, throw in the hat and say, well, we can't do this. We have to get it done somehow to because we believe in it. And so that's what I liked most about him, his drive, his motivation to get the work done. In politics, you have to compromise. You have to come up, always find a solution, regardless of how difficult it is. Some people are idealistic, and if they can't get their own way, then it's nothing at all. But in politics, you have to be able to get things done because we see the bigger picture. We understand the impact of what we're doing and the potential of the plans that we have to transform lives across the country.
Talking about pragmatism, I believe that that's one of the core themes we've seen in the policies and programs, and even some of the pieces of legislation laid in Parliament that we've seen pass through Parliament. And I want to talk a bit about your experience as a young woman in Parliament, and the role that you were given, the opportunity you were given to influence and add your voice, lend your voice to the policy level. On that note, how crucial it is, given your experience, to have youths and to have women at the table to discuss development from a policy level?
Young people today have a very unique perspective on any and everything. And their voices are important. Similarly with women, men can try as much as possible to imagine what it's like to get up every day and experience life as a woman, but they could never, because from the time we step out of our homes in the morning, we are reminded that we are women. And I know that we still have a pervasive problem in the country, for example, with street harassment, catcalling. So you're reminded as a woman that you are a woman in the most minor of circumstances. Just leaving your home, just going to the shop. You have to think about, what do I wear, because I don't want to attract negative attention. And, as a minister now, of course, you get that you get more, people respect you more because they know that they know that I'm in government, and of course I have security and so on. But I know what it's like to be a woman. I understand the difficulties that women face. I face this in my life. And so hearing their perspective, because of their experience as a woman, as a young person, male or female, everybody comes with their own perspective on matters. And that's because they have a different living experience. And that's why every voice matters, including every race. And that's why for me, it's crucially important to listen to the voices of our Afro-Guyanese, of Indo-Guyanese, of our Amerindian people, because they all have different experiences, they all have different expectations. And so there's no one broad brush that you can paint the country with, or one big broad plan that you can implement that will benefit everybody in the same way. So even development has to be tailored so that people across the country, in all communities, all races, all classes of people, all levels of education, we have to find a way to reach them. And Guyana is so vast geographically that it makes it very difficult. And so you have to put in that work. You have to understand why these voices are important, why their perspectives are important. And it's why I'm extremely proud that the government, this government, the PPPC government, leads the way it does by going into communities, consulting people. People see it as a simple thing. You know, the president is coming to the community to have a community meeting. But there's a deeper meaning in that public engagement. And that's what we're discussing here today, hearing from those voices, understanding their different challenges, and then going back and finding solutions that would bring relief to those communities, to those young people, to those women, because they know more than you do how best to serve them. And so making the time to listen to them and to engage them is a great service. So,
Thank you for that, Minister. I want to pivot now to your political opponents and specifically the APNU and the AFC. Almost every Thursday, the vice president announces or makes a case regarding many of the initiatives that have been transformative within the housing and water sectors. Yet the opposition has been critical. Some of that criticism has been that there's been exorbitant expenditures and that if it were to assume office, it would deliver more effective strategies compared to the PPP, one such being rent-to-own homes. What's your perspective on the plans of the political opponents to outshine the PPP?
the plans of the opposition is laughable because they had an opportunity not so long ago in government, and they broke all their promises. They did nothing to improve the housing sector, and they betrayed the trust of the Guyanese people, especially young people, especially women. And you're coming to us 5 years later and saying, I'll do better. I'll do better than the government that is in office now, which has a remarkable track record. You're suddenly going to do better. You suddenly have the better or more superior plan. But politics doesn't work like that. Leadership doesn't work like that. You have to earn people's trust. You have to earn their confidence. And you had 5 years in government. You blew the opportunity that the Guyanese people gave you. You betrayed them. Why should they believe you now? Why should they believe that anything would be different now when I urge people not to listen to them or not to believe them? The housing sector was not a priority for the APNU AFC coalition government. There was no Ministry of Housing and Water. It came under the Ministry of Communities. So it was clearly not a priority because they relegated the ministry. You had a series of housing ministers that came and went. Some only spent a few months.
Yes, that's true.
It takes dedication in the housing ministry, housing and water ministry, to get the job done. It's not easy. President Ali will tell you, as a former minister of housing and water, you can't go anywhere without, people meeting you and following up on their housing application, because the demand is so great, not only in Guyana, but in any country across the world. The United States is talking about how to better improve their housing sector. And that's a developed country. So there's always going to be a need for a better or more aggressive housing plan. But I believe that our plan and the vision for the housing sector is far superior, cannot be compared to anything that the opposition did. In their 5 years in office, they delivered 7,000 house lots. We delivered more than 7 times what they delivered in their 5 years. We've surpassed our 50,000 house lot distribution target. So we're not even talking about the manifesto commitment anymore. We're talking about how do we deliver housing in a real way, in a way that transforms the lives of young people and women and vulnerable groups or low-income population, who, by the way, benefited from 90% 90% of all the land distributed in the last 5 years went to low, moderate, and middle income earners, transforming the lives of those families, those 50,000 families, because they're not just 50,000 individuals. They have spouses, they have children, they have, extended families who will benefit from this. And in many cases, it's the first asset that they are owning as a family. And so their generations to come will be much better off than they are today. And this is thanks to this visionary housing program that we have. We believe in empowering people through home ownership and land ownership. So this issue of rent to own, this is new, Kiana, because when they first announced their plans, and their plans keep changing, by the way. So, which shows you that it is not a serious plan. They haven't tested it. They don't believe in the plan. They are throwing it out there and seeing the kind of reception it will get from the public. At first, when they announced their housing plans at their press conference, it wasn't rent to own, it was subsidized rent. I don't know if you recall that.
Yes.
I don't hear them speaking about subsidized rent anymore, because when they spoke about that, we attacked it immediately.
Yes.
And we said, why would you want to keep people renting? Our plan is to give people a title, give people home ownership, make them landowners. So we don't want to keep people renting. We don't want to keep people in poverty. We want to free people, give them financial freedom, give them empowerment, give them control over their own lives, give them an asset that they can pass on to their children. So they stopped talking about the rental subsidy. They are now talking about rent to own. But if you think about that plan carefully, who is going to build these houses or buildings or whatever they plan to build for people to rent to own? A lot of the financing that goes into the construction of homes comes from private financing. It's the beneficiaries of the program who go to the bank, who benefit from reduced interest rates now because of our direct intervention and our policies that have led to the reduction in interest rates at the bank. So they acquire a mortgage, and it's their loan that is used to build a house. It's not public financing. It's not government money. The low-income homes we have built through the housing fund, but it's reimbursed. Once the person acquires their mortgage, it's paid back in full. And so it's their own private financing that is going to be used. It would be a tremendous burden on the Treasury to build a house for every single person using public financing and then have them pay it back in installments. The plan is unsustainable. It's not a serious plan. It's easy to say, but it's not practical to do, and they will fail once again. And that's why people have to be cautious of these nice sounding, these sound bites that the opposition likes to dispense to the public, but it's not a serious plan.
On the topic of priorities and which plan is the best to take Guyana forward, the PPP has in the past 5 years leveraged oil wealth for infrastructural and social transformation. And the APNU is once again saying, listen, we have a plan that can best this. And that plan, as we've recently heard, includes a 35% increase for public servants, increasing the income tax threshold to $400,000, and a possible distribution of $1 million per household using the oil resources. What's your take on this particular plan, which tries to entice citizens with these major payouts from the oil?
So first of all, Kiana, that's not a plan. By telling the public or public servants you pay them more, that's not a plan. That's an increase in their wages and salaries, which is something that we've been doing progressively over the 5 years that we've been in government. That's a given. That's an expectation of the public. It's not a plan.
It's a
It's not a
low-hanging
plan
fruit.
on how you make their lives better in the long term. Um, Giving pensioners more, something that we have done. We've given the pensioners more than they have in their 5 years in government. And these are all recurring expenditure. And that's why we try to educate the public a lot on the difference between capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. What the PNC, APNU, AFC have done in their period in office, which is, by the way, demonstrative of their 28 years in government prior to that, is increase the recurrent side of the budget. So paying out everything in wages and salaries and benefits, and so you're not generating any income. You're just paying out money, and you're not investing in the economy. You're not investing in improving people's lives. Where's the plan for healthcare? Where's the plan for education? Well, there's no plan for housing. We established that already. Where's the plan for the young people? They promised that before, and they did nothing. They didn't even do the easy thing, which was to at least give them positions of influence and leadership in the 2015 to 2020 period. They didn't even do that. So now they have the answers to everything under the sun. And these are just, as you said, low-hanging fruit that, people can say, oh, I'm going to earn more. But what happens when you send the kids to school and there are no textbooks, or there's no feeding program, or the teachers are not trained or don't show up to work, or the infrastructure in the school is bad? That's what we're investing in the infrastructure, in the training of teachers, investing in textbooks for the children, ensuring the children get back their Because We Care cash grant, which they callously took away from our kids. Now they love university education. We made university education free. They're promising to do something that we've already done. When we said, President Ali said he would write off student loans, they laughed. They said it was not a sustainable plan. He's never going to do it. He has done it. They raised tuition fees at the University of Guyana by 35%. But they want everybody to be educated, but they're making it more expensive for people to get themselves educated. We've made University of Education free. We've introduced the Gold Scholarship. 39,000 Guyanese were able to access and benefit from higher education. We may have a situation in Guyana where we may have more master's degrees and PhDs by square mile. And that's fantastic. That's excellent for the people of Guyana, free of cost. So we're investing in the future. We're not investing for today. That's not how you prepare for a brighter future. By spending on recurrent expenses and not investing in the capital infrastructure, not building the roads and bridges. That's why we're doing that. We're investing in infrastructure that lasts, that is sustainable, that will transform the landscape of the country, that will attract foreign investors to come here, that would help the economy to grow and thrive, because the government cannot employ everybody. We have to create opportunities. That's essentially our role in government, is to make sure that we have a stable economy, that people have proper health care, access to quality education, housing, clean water. So that's essentially our role, and we've been doing a commendable job at ensuring that we invest for the future, not just for today.
Minister, as we wrap up today's discussion and talking about the transformation that is taking place, the development that's taking place in housing, one of the issues discussed in the last 5 years is addressing housing disparities. Of course, the coast is a focal point, but the concern is what is being done to address, for example, housing disparities in the hinterland region and even housing disparities in the area of Linden. How has the government tackled, and more specifically, how has your ministry tackled these two areas?
So, as I mentioned before, we we implement our plans in a way that is real, responding to the demand according to each region. So while we promise to deliver house lots, for example, 50,000 lots, last year we stopped talking about, or when I say we, meaning the leadership of the party, president, the cabinet, the focus was no longer on fulfilling a manifesto commitment. The focus was, what is your current demand in these regions, and how do we address it in its entirety? That's what the focus has been within the past year. So we are looking at all of the regions except for Region 4. We're looking at zeroing the applications. So it's not just about numbers, or we promised 50,000, we deliver that, so our job is finished. The work is never done as long as you still have people who are depending on you and who are waiting for their opportunity to own a piece of land, or to access a housing unit through the government. So Region 4, of course, has the highest housing demand because we're the most populated region, obviously. So we're trying to move the allocation closer to current date. But for all of the other regions, the mission is to address every single application in the region, at least up to 2024. So that is how we will go forward, ensuring that we deliver housing in a real way, that we have a real impact on the people who are depending on us, and ensuring that our Amerindian communities. So the hinterland housing program is very different from the housing program on the coastline. The beneficiaries on the coast, they pay for their houses. The hinterland housing program is a free home. So the beneficiaries are chosen through the village councils, and they receive all of the materials free of cost from the government, and it's a kind of community participation during the construction phase. All of this is supervised by engineers from the ministry to ensure that the houses are built properly and that they're structurally sound and so on. So it's a free home that the Amerindian communities benefit from, because they're living on community land. So it's not a loan per se. Well, we've tailored programs like, for example, the Let Them housing program, where the president announced a fund with $600 million, so that 600 families can access $1 million from the government as a subsidy to build a home worth $3 million. So the bank is financing $2 million. We are putting in $1 million, and they are able to build their own home in Lethem, because we have the Lethem housing program. So they have a title to their individual plot of land in Lethem. So we're tailoring different solutions depending on the local circumstance. And we're taking the housing program all across the country, including in Region 8 in Madi, and now we'll have a fully sustainable housing development for the first time. So that's another achievement that we're really proud of. But also reaching out to women. So even on the coastline, ensuring that women have access to affordable housing. 47% of all of the land we've distributed in the last 5 years went to women only.
Wow.
47%. So 54% went to young people between the ages of 21 to 35. So these are young people who have a longer chance over their lifetime to acquire more property, leveraging the first property that they receive from the government. So Kiana, the benefits of the housing program, I believe, will not be seen today. It will be seen for many, many years to come. I think I'll be, in another 10 years, I can drive around some of the areas that we've developed just in this last 5 years, and I will see thriving housing areas. I will see family living in wholesome communities, raising children in a safe neighborhood, a neighborhood that is fully equipped with essential services, access to a nearby school, hospital, or clinic, playgrounds, and commercial services within the areas, because this is the plan that we are implementing. So I think the true impact of what we're doing to bridge the gap, whether it's a gender gap, whether it's an ethnic gap, whether it's a geographical gap, we're working on all of these simultaneously to deliver transformation and to deliver prosperity to every single Guyanese across the country. And I think the fruits of our labor will be there for all to see.
Minister, final question. You've noted extensively that many of the promises made by your government have been achieved and in some instances surpassed. So, what are some of the new benchmarks? Perhaps you can give us at least insight into one that we can expect 2025, 2030.
So, the PPPC is not about surprising people. I think General Secretary made that clear. You can rely on us for steady leadership. You can rely on us to be grounded. You can rely on us to be serious about the plans that we announce, because we have every intention of fulfilling them. And that's why we're not careless or reckless with the promises that we make. So everybody from, I notice that when people take the platform on the opposition side, or a microphone, or sit at a press conference, everybody is espousing policy and making promises. And it's very dishonest, because none of them have the ability or the capacity or the competence to deliver on any of that. So if people are listening and thinking that if one of these, low-level people make a policy announcement and it resonates with them somehow, and they want to believe that will actually happen if these people get into government, it will not. Because policy have to be crafted in a serious way. You have to believe in the program. You have to cost it. You have to know exactly what it will cost and whether it is feasible. Its implementation will be feasible. And that's what we do in the PPP. We don't take these things lightly. We discuss it. We discuss it a second time, a third time, a fourth time, until we've perfected it. So, because we have every intention, like I said, of making sure that we can stick to it, that it's feasible. Because we don't want people to ever point to anything and say, well, you said that you would do this and you didn't. We want people to trust us. And they do trust us. And we don't want to break that trust. That's why we're very, very calculated in ensuring that anything that is announced has been approved. Because we will implement that. And so the housing program will continue in the way that it has been delivered over the last 5 years, because I believe that people accept it. They love it the way that it is. They want to be able to own their own land. They're going to make an application. They expect to get a house lot. Yeah. And anything else that you add to that is fantastic, but at least let me get my land. That's the general consensus. So that has to continue. And all of the additional things that or newer initiatives that will be announced, you will hear when we release our manifesto. But people know that we're always thinking, we're always coming up with new ways to reach people, new ways to improve their lives, and new benefits for them to be able to access new benefits to help them along the road to home ownership. So they don't have to worry the PPP will be there to, as I said, provide steady leadership, and you can rely on us, more importantly, to get the job done.
Minister, I want to thank you for enriching today's podcast session with insights into how you are developing and moving ahead in your journey as a politician, as a young woman. And I know that you are providing leadership in your own right to the young people and the young women who are looking on at your career and how it's developing. So thanks again. And we hope that we can have you back on the podcast as we edge closer to the date for E-Day.
Sure.
To our audience, thank you as well for joining us. Please be sure to follow us next week as we bring you more insights regarding Guyana's development from all vantage points. I'm Kiana Wilberg. See you next week.
Thanks for watching Starting Point. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for critical updates and exclusive content.